can join. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar. We're going to give a few minutes still for people who are joining. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar on the bloody truth about single-use products. And thank you very much for signing up and being on time, because we're starting now. First of all, I'd like to welcome you to the Environmenstrual Week. My name is Larissa Capello. I'm the Consumption Production Campaigner at Zero Waste Europe, and I'll be the host for today's bloody conversation. For those that doesn't know about Zero Waste Europe, we are an organization, NGO, Brussels-based NGO, work at the EU level at advocacy, but also at a local and national level with our network of organizations across Europe implementing zero waste strategies. This is the first webinar of the new Zero Waste Live semester. So the webinar happens usually from October to June, and we cover various issues around waste. So today's webinar it takes place in a really special period. As I mentioned, it's the Environmenstrual Week, which dedicated a week to put periods on spotlight, where it's breaking the taboo, raising awareness, demanding action, and you just need people really to talk about periods, and that's what we're going to do today. And why? So there is a bloody truth behind periods, specifically about single-use menstrual products. Our periods are at the intersection of environment, health, and social issues. And today we are going to know everything about it with three amazing speakers. We're going to have Alba Cabrera from Reusable that will present us the findings of two great reports on the environment and economic impact of single-use menstrual products and how we can tackle this issue. Then we'll have Natasha Pitti from the Women's Environmental Network, which are the pioneers of the Environmenstrual movement. And she'll present us what is the Environmenstrual Week about and the social justice issue of single-use menstrual products. And then we're going to have Chantal from Women's Engaged for a Common Future. And she'll present the findings of the great report about toxic-free periods. A bit on the webinar structure. So each speaker we're gonna present for 10 minutes, and after the 10 minutes, we'll have some minutes for clarification and questions. And at the end of the presentations, we'll have a 30 minutes of Q&A for joint discussion. So there is a Q&A box where you can put the questions, where we go, and then we can or address to specific speaker, or we can discuss at the end. And also feel free to use the chat box for comments, to present yourself. And yeah, and the capacity of the webinar here is only for 100 speakers. Oh, sorry, 100 participants. So we're also doing streaming at the YouTube. Well, without further delays, let's start this exciting discussion with our first speaker. So Alba Cabrera, she's a head of studies at Reusable. She holds a bachelor in environmental science and a master's degree in environmental engineer. And she's passionate about nature protection and zero waste practice. She has extensive experience in conducting research studies, and she loves to use her knowledge towards a zero waste society. At Reusable, she has developed and coordinated waste prevention plans and pilot projects, as well as circular economy analysis and studies to promote the reuse of materials. So let's get ready for some bloody data from our brilliant period researcher. So Alba, the floor is yours.
So I'll share my screen. I think it's fine. Can you see it? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this webinar. We think it's really important to speak about the impacts related to single-use menstrual products and which are the measures that could be implemented to minimize them, and the policy recommendations that at national level administrations can implement as well. So yeah, first of all, I would like to briefly introduce what we do at Reusable. Reusable is an independent and non-profit organization born in 2005. This year is actually our 15th anniversary. We are based in Catalonia and in Mallorca, in the Balearic Islands. And at Reusable, we want to change the consumption and production model towards a zero waste society. And to do that, we drive transforming actions and policies on waste prevention and responsible consumption. And we do that by networking with different stakeholders. We work at 4 different levels. We conduct strategic campaigns. We do also waste prevention plans and policies for municipalities, but also for companies. We also do a knowledge creation and socialization through research studies and also waste prevention lobby at regional, national, and also at international level through Zero Waste Europe and Break Free from Plastic, which we are members of. So as Larissa mentioned, today I'm gonna present some of the findings that we found on two studies that we did last year together with Break Free from Plastic, Zero Waste Europe, and ReLook. The first one about the environmental and economic costs coming from single-use menstrual products, baby nappies, and wet wipes, although today I'm just going to focus on menstrual products. And then we did a second one with Zero Waste Europe and INSTA about the existing measures and policy recommendations to minimize these impacts. And also I would like to just to mention that we at Reusable, we have a new campaign. It is an educational and communication campaign about reusables, and it's called New Period. The translation would be New Period, yes. And so let's start about single-use menstrual products. When we talk about single-use menstrual products, we are talking about pads and panty liners and tampons mainly. And if we focus on their compositions, we find that 90% of the pads and panty liners are made of plastic, polyethylene being the most abundant plastic, but we can also find other materials such as cellulose and superabsorbent polymers, adhesives and fragrances. And when it comes to tampons, they are all mainly composed of absorbent materials such as rayon, polyester, cotton. And they can also include a high percentage of plastic when they are wrapped individually with plastic film or when they come with a plastic applicator. And this is highly relevant because many manufacturers do not specify all the ingredients that are included in these products, although some of them might be harmful, as Chantal probably will explain later, for users and for the environment. And this is relevant because we have to take into account that 18% of the time of a year, a menstrual person is in direct contact, our skin is in direct contact with these materials. So during 3 or 4 decades that we menstruate, that's highly relevant. So when we talk about consumption rates, in the study, we couldn't find any official data for whole Europe about the volumes of sale of these single-use products, menstrual products. So what we did in the study was to base our estimations on demographic data and on average consumption rates. And we found that about 23% of the population menstruates, although there are some methodological limitations, but about 23% of the population menstruates. Each menstruating person uses about 14,000 menstrual products in their lifetime. And when we translate that into European numbers, we see that about 50 billion units of single-use menstrual products are consumed in only 1 year. So these single-use menstrual products have a series of impacts along their life cycle, from the production process until the end of life. So if we focus on the production process, in our analysis, we found out that most of the impacts come from the use of large volumes of resources, such as wood pulp, cotton, or viscose, which are used in the superabsorbent polymer, and also other components such as polyester, polyethylene, polypropylene, adhesives, synthetic fragrances and dyes. And also during the manufacturing process, there is also a high amount of water and energy consumption. And then we also have to include the impacts coming from the extraction of these natural resources, petroleum, for example, and the impacts coming from the transportations. There are also carbon dioxide emissions coming from these single-use menstrual products. For example, for only 1 year of a only 1 year of a menstruation per person emits 5.3 kilos of carbon dioxide. And as we said, these single-use menstrual products are products that are being designed to become waste after using them only once. And when we look at the waste generation, we can see that more than 180 kilos of single-use menstrual products are thrown away in a single lifetime for one menstruating woman. And at EU28, that would represent about 590,000 tons of single-use menstrual products in just 1 year. So that would be more or less like 300 times the weight of the Sagrada Familia, for example. If we take menstrual products together with nappies and wet wipes, the whole category that we assessed in our study, we can see that they represent about 3% of the total municipal waste and 4% of the total residual waste stream. And this percentage can increase in regions with higher separate collection rates, which is the case of zero waste municipalities that, for example, they can have selective collections up to 80%, for example. And in that case, the percentage that menstrual products, nappies, and wet wipes represent over the total residual waste can be up to 30 or 40%. This is highly relevant when we talk about cost for the municipalities, as we will see later. And what do we do with all this waste being generated? So because of the composition of these materials, because they are made of mixed materials and there is presence of organic matter, the recycling options nowadays are very limited or well, non-existing. So these products typically end up in landfills or in incinerators. And of course, this poor management of waste has a series of impacts, such as waste of resources, high land occupation rates when they are being landfilled, the pollution of groundwater and soil because of the release of chemicals and because of the presence of organic matter. And then, of course, greenhouse gases emissions, because at the end we are burning plastic and together with other substances present on the waste, and as well landfill emissions such as methane or carbon dioxide. Single-use menstrual products are also a source of marine litter. Actually, we see that they are among the top 10 single-use plastic items most commonly found in the European marine environment. Actually, the European Commission ranks them the 5th most common items. And why is that? Because sometimes consumers because sometimes they are flushed down the toilet because consumers might think that they biodegrade in the wastewater, or because lack of knowledge, or because of shame sometimes. And when they are flushed down the toilet, they might enter the marine environment through the wastewater release system, especially during storm events. And there they can cause pollution because of the release of chemical components, or because of release of microplastics, or even visible and physical damage to organisms. And the production and consumption, the consumption of these single-use menstrual products has a series of costs for administrations because of the waste management, the collection and treatment of this waste, which can range from €3 to €10 per inhabitant and year, depending on the country. Also, there are costs coming from the maintenance and unblocking of the sewer facilities and removing this waste from the wastewater plants. And it is estimated that around 500 and 1,000 million per year is spent to solve this issue by the European Union. And then there is also the thing that in coastal municipalities, they have to also to assume high costs coming from the removal and cleanups of beaches and aquatic surfaces. But what can we do to solve this situation? We can switch to reusable menstrual products. It's that simple. And when we talk about reusable menstrual products, we mainly talk about menstrual cups, cloth pads, period underwear, although there are other options such as reusable tampon applicators or sponges, but we focus on the most common items. We have seen, especially for the menstrual cup, that there has been a growing popularity in Europe. Actually, at global level, it is estimated an annual growth rate of about 5% during the next years. There is no data available about the market share of reusable products, but for example, in UK, about 5% of the menstrual products market belongs to reusables. And another important point is that although they are easily found in online shops, in some regions, their availability and accessibility is not yet ensured, and they are not easily found in pharmacies, supermarkets, and other kinds of retailers. And these reusable options have a series of benefits. They have environmental benefits. For example, if we look at the menstrual cup, which is the item that has been more studied in the life cycles analysis, we see that they have a better environmental performance. Actually, in terms of carbon dioxide savings, we can see that there can be a 90% reduction when we switch from single-use to reusables. Also, reusables are usually toxic-free, and they are safe and effective. And they are also a tool to waste prevention. actually, well, you can see in this table, but I will give you only the final result to go faster. When we switch to menstrual cups, about 99% of the waste could be reduced, and only if 20% of the menstruators would opt for reusables, about 100,000 tons per year of waste could be saved. And also they are a tool to prevent marine litter and to prevent the problem related to the wastewater systems, because they are unlikely to be flushed down the toilet or littered in the environment. And they also offer us economic savings for consumers. For example, with single-use menstrual products, a person can spend about 250 to 4,400, well, like about 4,400 euros during the lifetime. But when we switch to reusables, there could be annual savings of 18 or 119 euros, and over the lifetime, savings could exceed 4,400 euros. And these economic savings are even more relevant if we take into consideration other topics such as gender inequality, menstrual poverty, and period tax. I won't go in through that because maybe Natasha will talk about that, but or you can ask later on. And also, so these single-use menstrual products are being covered by different legal frameworks. If we focus in single-use plastics directive, we can see that in the directive there are marketing and labeling requirements for these products. They establish as well the obligation to develop awareness-raising measures. However, no EPR obligations, as it happens with wet wipes, for example, is established on the directive. For example, other local legislation, like is the case of Balearic waste law, are introducing in some articles measures to promote reusables, and in this case also compostables. And here we have some of the compilation of the recommendations that we did in the study, in some policy recommendations for Europe, national level, and also at local level. At European level, some recommendations could be to promote reusables, could be to establish reuse targets and to implement EPR schemes with eco-modulation, to binding requirements to eliminate the chemical and toxics on these products. And at national level, again, EPR systems could be implemented for menstrual products. Also, economic incentives could also help to promote reusables and invest in subsidies to fight menstrual poverty, for example, to establish, again, binding consumption reduction targets for single-use products or targets for reusables. Well, yeah, also to establish marketing and labeling requirements and so on. At local level, municipalities have the waste and fiscal ordinances where they can, for example, include some economic incentives to promote reusables. And they can also implement individualized waste management systems, such as pay-as-you-throw system, which encourage a reduction on waste, on the residual waste fraction, among others. And that's it. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Alba, for the presentation. It's really a wide range of issues related to one product that it's hard to imagine how many things connected. And yeah, that's why we are here discussing and talking about it. We have got a few questions from the participants. For instance, about the method of calculation of the carbon emission from the single-use menstrual products.
Mm-hmm. We didn't do that calculation. What we did was to look for life cycles analysis that were already available. So we only gather data and included that on the study.
Thank you. And yeah, we shared already the study in the chat. If you are interested to know more about this, really a bunch of data, really great report. And also another question about what would be the other solutions besides menstrual cups, reusable and washable pads. For instance, if compostable would be an option, etc. What's your point of view on that?
When it comes to compostables, we don't think that they are like a real solution, because at the end they are products that are also made to become waste after using them only once. And also there are other issues related to compostable, because nowadays there is a big confusion for consumers about the terms of biodegradability and compostability. And sometimes this could lead to an increase on littering, for instance, or because people might think that they compost at any kind of environments, but the reality is that these products are only composting at certain temperatures and other conditions like humidity, which are only met in composting plants. So if they end up in the marine environment or in the river or any other kind of natural environment, they will probably not compost, and they will behave like any other traditional plastic. And also this is relevant to keep in mind that most compostable plastics or most compostable products are also made of fossil fuel. Well, they have petroleum materials as well. So, and also other kind of chemical additives and fragrances. So we would have a similar impacts for human health and also for the environment.
Yeah, no, indeed, the compostability is also a tricky issue, because we need separate collection in the end as well. And yeah, it's not implemented anywhere. It's like it's really, if we have reusable solutions, then it would be the ideal. But of course, we understand that also some single use may be need for the whenever we don't have, access to, we can not wash, etc. And there's also, you mentioned about the benefits of for municipalities, the cost savings. There was some questions about how can this cost saving translate to municipalities as well.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in the presentation, single-use menstrual products as well as nappies and wet wipes, they are collected together with the residual waste stream. And although in average in Europe they account for 4% of the residual waste, in other municipalities, such as in zero waste municipalities, they can represent up to 30 or 40%. So if we remove this waste when we switch to reusables, for example, we will see the residual fraction reduced in weight and in volume as well, and the fraction would be drier. So maybe like frequency of collection could be reduced. There are also savings coming from in that regions where there are the obligation of pre-treatment or there are landfill and incineration fees. The reductions can be even higher. The cost savings can be even higher. And of course, there is the thing that if we switch to reusables, then the littering and the cost of cleanups for municipalities would also be reduced.
Yeah, no, indeed. Yeah, thanks a lot, Alba. Yeah, for those that want to know more about this cost saving benefits and also the impacts, like it's really well detailed in the report that we got in the chat. So maybe let's move to our second speaker, which is Natasha Pietibasha. So she's the Environmenstrual campaign manager at the Women's Environmental Network. She's a passionate menstrual activist with more than 5 years of campaign experience, working in the fields of women's health and gender equality. She holds a master in anthropology and a bachelor in international development. And Natasha is a self-described Afro-Middle American Brit or third culture kid who advocates for a more socially just world. That just sounds amazing. So we will have the pleasure to hear now about the Environmenstrual Week campaign and the social justice aspect of this issue with our Environmenstrual queen, Natasha.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Larissa. I'll share my screen and hope that it shows up on your end.
Yes.
Yeah. Did it load? Let's see.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, great. Okay, so yes, I'm really pleased to be here with everyone and just with esteemed speakers and I'm sure attendees as well. So like Larissa said, my name's Natasha Piet-Bashir and I am the Environmenstrual campaign manager at Women's Environmental Network. And a little bit about Women's Environmental Network. It's a charity based in the UK, in East London. We're a national charity that works on issues that link gender, health, and the environment. And we work on these issues through campaigning on a local grassroots level. And we also take action for a healthier planet. That's kind of our motto. We also believe that the fight for gender equality is inextricably linked with environmental, racial, and social justice. And we have a number of different projects beyond Environmenstrual, including air equality, nature and well-being, sustainable food initiatives, as well as women's climate action initiatives and initiatives around toxic-free living. But today I'll be focusing on Environmenstrual and specifically Environmenstrual Week, which has kicked off as of yesterday, 19th to the 25th of October. And you can find out more at wen.org.uk, but I will be delving in a little bit more about Environmenstrual Week. Basically, Environmenstrual Week is a week dedicated to amplifying the messaging around healthy, eco-friendly menstrual products, as well as education on sustainable periods. So we do this through fighting to normalize periods by being period proud, as well as fighting period poverty sustainably, and amplifying kind of more sustainable alternatives that are maybe not so much publicly known. So just a little introduction about the issues at hand. I think Alba already sort of delved into this quite a bit, but just to give an overview, and to kind of put it in perspective. So there was a study by Plan International UK that found that around 48% of girls in the UK are embarrassed by their period. So that indicates that we do have a very taboo kind of image about periods, not only in the UK, but I know this is a global issue as well. And as Alba mentioned, menstrual products are the 5th most common item found on European beaches. And we do think that this is linked to the taboo as well, and how the taboo can impact what kind of products that we use, and also it can influence what kind of knowledge and education we might have access to. So we look at the impacts, the environmental impacts of conventional period products that contain hidden plastic and harmful chemicals. So, tampon applicators, pads, panty liners, etc., which are a significant cause of marine litter. And we know that the waste that is generated from these disposables generates around 200,000 tons of waste per year. And many of these items are flushed incorrectly down the toilet. In the UK, it's around 2 billion per year that are flushed down the toilet per year each year. So we really want to highlight, the alternatives, but also highlight, bin the period products if you're using disposables rather than flushing them. And we know that a conventional period pad contains up to 90% plastic, which is a complete unnecessary amount of plastic to be had in products that we're using so intimately close to our bodies. And also plastic, has detrimental effects to the environment, as we know. And this is linked to period product manufacturers really needing to take responsibility for the amount of waste that is being generated and the harmful materials that are being used in these products. So we want to work to lobby manufacturers, industry giants, to be more transparent about what's in their products, as well as remove plastic that is unnecessary and remove the harmful added chemicals. So through the campaign, we really encourage people to uptake reusables if they can, and for them to learn about all the different products that are available to them, because there are so many options out there now, including organic disposables, which was touched upon earlier. But we do hope that we can champion the alternatives that don't often get as much limelight as well through the campaign. So another issue is the fragrance and added harmful chemicals that are in these products, which can cause allergic reactions. They often contain hormone disrupting chemicals, which is obviously a health justice issue as well, because these ingredients are not actually required to be disclosed. So us as people that are buying these products may not even be aware that what we're using is might be harmful to our overall health. And yeah, so we think because of the huge issue around period poverty, around 1 in 10 girls, for example, can't afford menstrual products here in the UK, and this has been exacerbated during the pandemic. We really, with this campaign, want to highlight that it's really important that we fight for access to safe, healthy, and eco-friendly menstrual products, and this shouldn't be, a luxury. We should, everyone should be able to access these. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is why we launched Environmenstrual Week 3 years ago in 2018, and this is our 3rd year. We are really pleased as well to be joined by a coalition of over 60 organizations across different sectors to advocate for sustainable periods, and we're happy to partner with Zero Waste Europe and Break Free from Plastic to amplify this campaign Europe-wide. And just a little recap about what the week is all about. So we aim to amplify the conversation around reusables and plastic-free period products. In doing so, we want to break the taboo around periods and show you are period proud through different initiatives that we have going on during the week. And we also want to work to end period poverty to help ensure everyone has access to healthy plastic-free period products. So we have a number of different reusables. Alba did talk about these as well, but we try to amplify what a menstrual product, what a reusable menstrual product is, whether it's a menstrual cup, reusable pad, or period undies, or a reusable tampon applicator. So we have the menstrual cup. I thought I'd bring in some props. So menstrual cups are inserted like a tampon and collect rather than absorb blood. They can be worn up to 12 hours, depending on what the brand you're using recommends. They're usually made from 100% medical grade silicone. You know, there's different sizes depending on your flow or your body type. We also have reusable pads. So we have washable cloth pads. They're also really good reusable alternatives. There's lots of brands and patterns and colors to choose from. And these work similarly to a standard pad and can be washed in the washing machine with your other laundry and reused, which is great. And you can just hang up to dry and use them again. And then there's also period undies, which they have this, oh, they're right here, which just look like regular undies. They come in many different styles. They can be bought in your local supermarket these days or independent stores, and they can be worn all day. And then you can also put them in the wash with your laundry and reuse them, and they're really comfy. I can attest to that. We've also got a reusable tampon applicator, which is a relatively new invention. So this is kind of something that can be used that can help in reducing waste when it comes to plastic applicators. So if you can't ditch the applicator, this could be an option for you. And it can be reused for up to 10 years. And I should mention, all of these can be used for years at a time, depending on which product you're looking into. Let's see how I'm doing. So we also have the recognition that not everybody is ready to switch to reusables, and that is a personal choice for people. And we don't want to really preach to people, so we do education work and have a workshop and ambassador program. But this, we want to ensure that everyone feels comfortable with the products that they're using. So we do talk about organic single-use options that contain minimal plastic content and less, harmful chemicals. So if people want to mix and match with reusables and that, for example, and we have discount codes, etc., from our coalition partners, and we've also created a product composition list from all our coalition partners who are companies that have plastic-free period products. So people will be able to see all the ingredients in these products and what certifications they have. So I will now just discuss the excitement of periods going virtual. So it's unfortunately in these circumstances with the pandemic, we've had to switch Environmenstrual Week to being online. But at the same time, we've had a really good reach. We're only into the second day of Environmenstrual Week, but we've had incredible engagement and activities and events around Environmenstrual Week, which has been so exciting. We've had reusable pad making workshops. We've had our partners holding workshops on how to speak to your MP about access to period products in schools and how to advocate for plastic-free periods. We've participated in webinars like this to raise awareness about the issues around single-use disposables and raising awareness about the reusable options and the environmental health impacts. And we also have our Environmenstrual Festival, which is happening this Thursday at 12:30 p.m. British Standard Time. And there's just a lot of events going on, which we're just really excited about. We also have a Period Proud photo challenge that is going on right now. And we want everybody on this attendees list on this webinar to hopefully take a picture with your favorite period product, in whether it's outside or indoors because you're in lockdown or anything like that, and pose with your period product and nominate 3 friends to do the same. And this is really about helping to end the shame around periods, but also to show that we can be proud of being people who menstruate. and people shouldn't have to shy away from the fact that they are having a period, but everybody can get involved, all genders, and you can help be period proud. So hopefully you can do that after this webinar. We also have just a social media toolkit that we've created with loads of graphics that people can share to really put the messaging in the spotlight on social media. And usually these have, shocking stats or imagery that shows, the different kinds of menstrual products, and that's inclusive. And we refer to people who menstruate rather than just saying women, because not all women menstruate, and also not everybody who menstruates is a woman or identifies as a woman. So we have a number of social media assets that hopefully you can use on our website if you want to get involved in the campaign. Just to share a bit more, this is only sort of a few things that we picked up just in the first, 2 days of Environmenstrual Week, but we've had, artwork, we've had reports coming out, which are, being launched during Environmenstrual Week that put the spotlight on plastic and toxic-free periods. There's been videos and everything like that to raise awareness about the issue as well. And of course, we've got Break Free from Plastic as well, sharing, or Zero Waste Europe sharing on social media as well. And Instagram takeovers about how to use reusables and how to wash them and everything you can really imagine. It's gotten very extensive these past few days. It's been overwhelming to see the amount of engagement, and it's just really reassuring, and we're hoping that the message is spreading far and wide. Just a shout out to our Environmenstrual coalition partners. We have over 60 organizations that we're working together with to amplify the Environmenstrual Week. So you can see a number of them here. And obviously this helps with supporting the movement, having a wider reach across all types of sectors through newsletters and social media. We also have some discount codes from some of our coalition partners to encourage people to make the switch if buying the product is maybe too expensive for the first time buy for reusable. Yeah, and so yeah, that's some of the discount code companies that we work with. And just to say, I think it's important to recognize that we're part of a wider movement of menstrual equity, and that this is a movement that has been going on for ages. I know that WEN, for example, has been working on these issues since the late 1980s to ensure that we have safer, healthier periods for people. And we have so many amazing activists that are working to fight period poverty in the UK, as well as all over the world. So these are just a few people that we highlight and partners that we would like to highlight. So it's really important to just recognize that we're part of a wider movement, and that we can kind of make a difference working together on these issues. And yeah, I think I hope I haven't gone over time, but that's pretty much an overview of Environmenstrual and Environmenstrual Week. But please you can follow us on our Environmenstrual Instagram or on WEN's Twitter account or Facebook, because it's going to be a very exciting week this week. And hopefully you can also join us at the festival this Thursday on the 22nd. The topic will be Wise Access to Sustainable Period Products, a Social Justice Issue. So we'll be delving into that in more extensive detail with a fantastic panel as well. That's it from me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Natasha. Well, it's already an amazing, it's already, like the beginning of the weekend is already amazing, this Environmenstrual week. Like so much happening. I'm so excited.
I know. It's been incredible.
And yeah, and well, thank you very much for showing the examples, the products. I also have my cup here, which I took a picture this morning for the Pure Proud Challenge. So yeah, I encourage everyone as well here to participate and talk about periods and also this work of educating and informing. I think is the most important one, because we are just misinformed and discouraged to get to know about it more, the period products that we have, the choices because of the taboo. So yeah, just to give access to everyone to all the products, and then everyone can choose and can do an informed choice about the products we use. But I don't know anyone that has switched to reusable and went back to single user, just because it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions here for you. Just you mentioned the part of the equity and social justice. So why access to sustainable period products is a social justice issue for you?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few reasons why it is a social justice issue. I guess it all kind of comes from the period, it connects to the period taboo that we have across many different societies across the globe, including here in the UK and in Europe. And obviously this has an impact on what products we might be able to use. It can have an impact on how we dispose of them. And that affects our wider environment, as well as our health if these products have harmful chemicals in them. So it's sort of a wider kind of environmental justice issue as well. But the other issue is around, the transparency for the period product producers that don't list the ingredients in their products. It's a social justice issue in the sense that people who menstruate aren't able to make an informed decision about the menstrual products they're using if they literally can't have access to or know what they're putting inside their bodies or using for their period care. But also it's important to recognize that we have period privilege if we are able to just go on and use organic, for example, products or reusable products that are not as accessible at the moment. And to recognize that these products may not be available for everybody, and they may not be something that someone might feel comfortable with if they've not been able to learn about what these products are. There's a lot of myths as well that are surrounding whether people might use them as well. So it's also important to know that there's, some people might not be able to use an insertable menstrual cup or insertable product because of certain cultural kind of beliefs, or they might have a specific disability or mobility issues that may affect, what kind of product they use. So it's really important to look at the wider context when we kind of educate around period products. But also looking at the life cycle of menstrual products and how, for example, if a disposable cotton-based product, if this is not organic, then you also think about the cotton workers who are producing these products and their exposure to pesticides, for example. And a lot of the time cotton workers are women, so that adds another element of gender injustice as well. So we have to really think about the whole kind of picture and being inclusive in our language, especially when we're talking about periods. It's, you know, periods can be experienced across the gender spectrum. So it's important to recognize that when we talk about periods, and to also recognize that it's important to be inclusive and representative of all the people who have periods. So whether it be when we're talking about plastic-free periods, we have to ensure that we're including, you know, everyone, people of color, trans people, women who don't menstruate anymore or don't have the capacity to menstruate, and all of these things. So it's all about sort of keeping all of this in the forefront of our minds when we're talking about these issues for period equity, but also just to say that everyone deserves access to healthy, environmentally friendly period products. So that's what we just want to keep working on and keep building with this movement.
Thank you very much, Natasha. It's really an amazing work, and we see how this issue really cross boundaries, like it's beyond what we think it is. And yeah, but yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. As we are kind of a bit tight with the time, I will keep the more questions for Natasha for the end, for the discussion, and we're gonna go for our last, but of course not least, a speaker. It's Chantal van den Bosch. She's the communications manager at the Women Engaged for a Common Future. She works on building awareness on the importance of a healthy environment, especially for women. Prior to WECF, Chantal worked as a documentary maker, editor, and director for various TV and radio programs in Russia, Bulgaria, and the Netherlands. She has a bachelor degree in Russian language and a master in Eastern European studies. Also, she has and is currently engaged in a number of local LGBT groups. So now, if you thought you knew what was in your period products, our bloody health experts will show you that actually you do not know. Chantal, the floor is yours. You're muted still, so you can unmute yourself.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, and share your screen.
I will share my screen. Yes, my name is Chantal van den Bosse, and a great deal of my work is focused on creating awareness for the need for a toxic-free and healthy environment from a feminist perspective. I'm not sure if I manage. Yeah. Now I'm. Take some time. Yeah. Is our health at stake? Yes, I do think, and also a lot of things that I will be talking about have already been mentioned by Alba and Natasha. And what I find is really important is creating awareness on the environmental health risks of single-use regular tampons and pads. And last week we issued our report for Environmenstrual Week, Toxic-Free Periods. It's a report we've written before in Dutch and most of the results we used are from the Netherlands, but I think it's also quite handy for an international audience as well. Because I don't think, because I was listening to Natasha telling about the UK, and I think lots of the figures and the examples she mentioned are also can be used for other Western European countries as well. I work for WCF, Women Engaged for a Common Future. We're an eco-feminist network. And dedicated to a gender just and healthy planet for all. We're an international network of over 150 member organizations in 50 countries, women and environmental organizations, and we're implementing projects with our partners worldwide. And our international secretariat is based in the Netherlands, and we have country offices as well in Germany, France, and Georgia. Our key issues that we work on, all from a feminist perspective, are sustainable development, toxic-free, healthy environment, and climate action. And one of our pillars is a gender-just, healthy, and toxic-free environment. And the chemical projects that we work on, for instance, are sustainable chemistry, the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm conventions, where we work at the Gender Action Plan, advocate for the Gender Action Plan. We advocated for a better European chemical strategy. We work on advocacy on REACH, the European Chemicals Regulation, especially Article 33, the right to know, and on SciChem. And we also have practical projects working on chemicals, like Project Nesting for young parents, how to create a toxic-free environment for your children. And we work on pilot projects on plastics and hazardous chemicals in Nigeria, Indonesia, Bolivia, and Kyrgyzstan. But also we work on toxic-free periods. And there are three key points that I'd like to emphasize, which are important for us, is the right to a healthy and toxic-free environment for women in all their diversity, the effects and dangers of hazardous substances in menstrual products for our bodies and health. And another thing is, which Natasha also said, is the right to know what's in our pads and tampons, as manufacturers often do not disclose what's in and the right to a toxic-free and healthy environment for all is certainly important for the right to a toxic-free period, because if there's one issue at the intersection of health, environment, and women's empowerment, it's our menstruation. And in many countries, little attention is still paid to the environmental and health problems. And this is also, in addition to the taboos on menstruation, there are those two taboos underexposed in the environmental and health aspects. The right to decent menstrual health, it's fundamental. It's menstruation is part of life. Openness is also good for the women's cause, the environment and health. And in addition to health effects, period poverty makes health effects often even worse. And the way products are sold reinforces also taboos. So one of the big solutions would be to bring women to the decision-making tables as representatives of CSOs, legislators, policymakers, responsible enterprises, because if we don't bring it up, nobody will. The taboo is too big, and it will not be discussed unless we are the decision makers ourselves regarding toxic-free periods. Because we issued last year with the European elections, we issued an eco-feminist scorecard, and one of the points that we emphasized on the eco-feminist scorecard was stop polluting our vaginas. We have a serious problem because the effects and dangers of hazardous substances are not really being researched. There has been some research the past couple of years, mainly in the USA, but then again, it's there's quite a huge difference often in the products that are being sold in the US than in Europe. There's been research from France, Denmark, and Sweden. And the research so far has been worrying, especially the research done 2 years ago by ANSES, government research institute in France, has been quite worrying. Because there are quite a lot of chemicals of concern in menstrual products. So we have pesticide residues. Regular tampons consist mainly of cotton. Large quantities of toxic pesticides are used in non-organic cotton cultivation. As much as 25% of insecticide use and 90% of pesticide use is accounted for by cotton cultivation. And this creates contamination of drinking water and can cause health problems for people in the area of where the cotton is growing, but also for the women working and collecting the cotton, mostly women often. And in the end, of course, pesticide residues can also have consequences for our own health. Danish research 2 years ago found traces of pesticides that are prohibited in the European Union. I think lindane was one of the pesticides found. And then you also have dioxins. Bleaching with chlorine can release dioxins. There are now new methods, but they're still also not 100% safe. And dioxins are connected with, there's research being done where dioxins are connected with endometriosis and PCOS. And then another thing, fragrances. Why would we need fragrances in menstrual products? They can disturb the balance between good and bad bacteria. They can trigger allergies, and they can be made up of cocktails and hormone disrupting chemicals as well. And plastic, that's also, that never goes away, of course. It affects biodiversity, and the effects are still unknown on our own health. So yeah, there's strong evidence that our health is at stake. Each day we are exposed to many hazardous substances. We even bring, with tampons, we even bring them into our own bodies. There's no major, but the thing is, there's no major evidence of health effects of their causing, because there's little or no research. And the fact, it's really mind-boggling when you think about it, something that's used so widely that if you use regular tampons, I think the average person that uses about 11,000 in their lifetime, and it's so badly tested. It says something about the taboo. It gives menstruating people a huge body burden with hazardous chemicals. Up to 300 substances can be found in one body, and over 1,300 scientific studies the past years have linked exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals to spiraling rates of hormone-related cancers, diabetes, obesity, reproductive health, and also behavior problems in children. And that's why we just need to know what we are using, and we should have the right to choose. Because if no action is taken, there was a research done in the Netherlands by Institute IRAS, which is the toxicological institute at the University of Utrecht. And they calculated it was in 2016, that 46 to 288 billion euros would go to extra health costs in Europe if nothing happens, if there is no extra regulation concerning endocrine disrupting chemicals. So we will have to take measures ourselves. Manufacturers are not required to give the ingredient lists. And I don't think it's fair that the responsibility lies with the consumer. It's strange. So we need more research. We need gender-specific research on the impact of plastics on human health and our environment, covering production, usage, and post-usage management. We need biomonitoring of exposed male and female workers in plastic production and recycling processes. Exposure levels need to be investigated as a basis for a reliable gender-related risk assessment. And very importantly, we need to take the cocktail effect into account, because usually substances are regulated per substance and they are looked at separately. But there are also substances that do not have a harmful effect themselves, but they have in combination with other chemicals. So therefore, we need research and also research to convince policymakers that things need to change. We need a list of ingredients from manufacturers. Consumers need to be aware of Article 33, the right to know within the European Chemicals Regulation REACH. We need up-to-date scientific research that can be used by policymakers. And ANSES, the research I referred to in France, the French government agency, already ordered manufacturers 2 years ago to eliminate carcinogenic, neurotoxic, and endocrine disrupting chemicals from period products. And the funny thing is that recently I see a lot of advertising from the big three manufacturers of single-use period products who say, who advertise with the fact that there's no BPA in their applicators. Oh, was there then? Or they advertise, they suddenly have an organic brand. So it means that they also sense that there's something wrong with the products they are selling. But as long as there's no regulation, they can just go on. And if you want to know more and read our reports, you can go to our website, wecf.org, and you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chantal, for the great presentation. It's I was like, oh my God, this is a horror movie, a bunch of chemicals in our products. Like every time I know more on these products, it's like, yeah, it's a bit scary, but that's why we need to speak up. And it's really important that we said the right to know and the right to choose. That's the basic. It's like, it's all we want.
We
right?
have a letter on our website. And did you know that manufacturers have are obliged to respond within 45 days if you want to know what's in their products? They really should tell you what's in their products.
Yeah, that's really great to know. Yeah, great. We're going to check that in your website, and maybe you're going to put it also here in the chat for people to know. Thanks. Yeah, I think I was in one of the discussions about this issue, and someone in the discussion said that if men menstruate, taboo would be a thing of the past, because it's really like there was some comments here from the participants I saw about if women were behind the process of manufacture of these products. And it's like, well, we don't know, right? It's like if women are really participating in the manufacturing process of these items, because I think they're not allowed to put so many chemicals in these products. Yeah. So yeah, I think we can kind of open now the floor for some discussions and questions for all of you. Chantal, Natasha, and Alba, you can jump in. We had some comments about that governments should support the cause and the issue, and if there's any existing examples governments that are supporting, for instance, the menstrual poverty issue, like giving reusable menstrual products or single use, and if you have any examples of this happening somewhere.
Yes, well, in the study that we did with Zero Waste Europe and Insta, we identified one experience in Quebec region in Canada, that the government is giving subsidies to persons that are using reusables as well as nappies, but that's the only one experience that we saw that it's really happening. Probably there are more, but we didn't find them. I can send you the link actually to their website because I have it here. I'll put it in the chat.
I think as well, I've heard of an initiative in Scotland by Zero Waste Scotland. They did a campaign called Trial Period, and yeah, it was a subsidized initiative where they could provide period products, reusables, for free to a select population. And it seems to have been quite successful, and I would hope we could replicate it in England, because yeah, I think ultimately these products should be for free. Let's be honest, that they should be, they're an essential product that we need access to, and if they're reusable, all the better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, indeed. Also, a related question was like, if there is any, like, how can those that are already struggling to afford single use get reusable? Because indeed, there's issues of menstrual poverty, and this the social justice too, that it enters there, right? It's like people that doesn't have more access and are the ones that have most exposure to the harm and impacts of the single-use items. So that's why we need try to change policy and get the support from governments, because we have the right to this product and the right to know. There's also interesting questions about the cultural barriers, about for instance, it's not, there was someone that just mentioning that she uses the cup, but the friends does not accept, and it's like the thing about insertion of the cup, and how address this challenge, this cultural challenge about around reusable products. If you have any insights, especially I think it's more the cup maybe. If you have any insights on how to overcome this barrier. Maybe Natasha, you.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, I think because there's not, if people don't have the access to knowledge about what these products are, or how they work, then it's not surprising that people may have certain assumptions about menstrual cups. So I'm aware, sometimes with insertable products, not just menstrual cups, also tampons, that there might be certain myths around what they can do to you or something, or if, for example, there's been there's kind of beliefs around the link between inserting a menstrual cup or a tampon and it affecting your virginity, which of course scientifically isn't an accurate thing, a statement, but of course there's deep sort of cultural, historical kind of beliefs and attitudes towards that, and so it's sort of like we have to be sort of understanding that it's if there's not an access to information about what these products are, or what kind of the facts, the scientific kind of facts are as well, and sort of knowledge about how to use them, and sort of how we can demystify certain kind of attitudes that might have just sort of been passed on through generations, but actually like having a conversation about it. And but that's also like getting through the kind of stigma around periods, and being able to talk about it may not be easy for everyone. And because the menstrual cup, you have to be quite comfortable with being intimate with your body, or being able to insert a product into your vagina can be quite daunting to some people. So it's really important to probably meet people who may not know about the menstrual cup, to just sort of talk through the facts about them, and hopefully start a conversation that may take some time, and it may, if people may decide not to use the menstrual cup, which is absolutely fine as well, and it's everyone's personal choice. But it's just, I think, good to emphasize the education is so important for these products as well.
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, education information can help addressing these cultural barriers as well. There is a specific question about the toxins. Not sure if maybe Chantal will be able to respond about how the toxins are transmitted to the menstruator body, if it's through the genitals, and if there is a testing, pharmacokinetic testing, I don't know how to pronounce that could detect the substance in the blood stream. Do you know anything about it, Chantal?
No, but I think that would be that's the problem with lots of chemicals, and especially with endocrine disrupting chemicals. They can go through inside your body via all sorts of ways, also via using food packaging materials, or that's something. And of course, if you bring in a tampon, I mean, and it's connected with your bodily fluids, then it's if there are pesticide residues, you just don't want that to have that into your body. But no, there's been some research the past couple of years, but it's compared to other topics, there's hardly any research at all. And it's interesting to see that even toxicologists that we work with, we also work like on pesticides, and male toxicologists that we work with in other fields that are really concerned and see the dangers, do not see the dangers of this, because it's just, menstruation is something out of their scope. So I think it's also very good to do this with everybody. Just get men on board. And also, I was thinking, because I heard Alba talking about the cost for the municipalities, that's also an interesting way of attracting male policymakers to get them involved. Like, you can reduce your costs an awful lot, or maybe that would help. Yeah, to get them more interested in the subject of single-use menstruation products.
Yeah, no, true. It's we have to get something that, as you say, deals with their heart. Maybe the pockets will. And but it's true about these toxins from single-use menstrual items, because indeed we are exposed already in our daily lives to so many chemicals, and it's hard to identify from which products they come from. Yeah, that's a big challenge.
But that's why it's so important that the products itself are being researched, and that it's important that you just know what's inside.
Yeah, the list of the chemicals, etc.
Because we have consumer guides, for instance, for cosmetics, and you can use our consumer guides and go into a store and go into and then just check the ingredient list on the cream or the body lotion or whatever. But you can't do that with tampons and pads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Well, we have almost done, but just to close, one last question from the audience. If you have some tips for people taking the first steps towards plastic-free, toxic-free periods, would you have any tips for the ones that are just getting into it? You're muted, yeah.
It depends where you live, I think, because it's also, we have the privilege that we can choose from a lot of options, but we are also working with partners in the Balkans, for instance. And yeah, we made a film once with a partner of us in, I think it was in Macedonia, was in Serbia, where we just went out and saw if there were any alternatives available or in reach, and there weren't. So yeah, so that's also depends, of course, where you live and what is available.
Thank you. Natasha, Naba, do you have any last tips on that?
Yeah, I would say, if you can, give reusables a go, and you can also demand safe, healthy products from the manufacturers themselves. If we come together in mass numbers and go and make noise about the fact that we don't want plastic, we don't want hormone disrupting chemicals in our products, then they're going to eventually have to listen. I think they're starting to listen, and we're seeing some changes happening. But of course, we have to, be mindful that sometimes it's not in their best, business interest to provide reusables. But if they can, transition to offering reusables that are safe and healthy to the general population, then obviously that would be ideal. But I guess another tip is to get involved in Environmenstrual Week, and you'll be able to find loads of tips about plastic-free periods, and it's just a fun way of getting involved. There's also, ways you can, for example, make your own pad at home. I know we're all in lockdown. So for Environmenstrual Week, we have a reusable pad pattern and instructions where you can try to make your own reusable pad with your own materials you have at home. And that's sort of a way to, stick it to the big manufacturers to say, look, I don't need your constant, disposables. I can make my own products, and I can use reusables, and that can help save the planet and my health. And so I think it'd be great to get involved in Environmenstrual Week, and you can visit our website, I think I said earlier, when.org.uk, and hopefully make some noise about all these issues, and gain the confidence to maybe try reusables.
Amazing, thank you. Alba, do you have one tip to share?
Not really. I think everything was said. I was about to say as well to participate in some of the workshops as well that are being conducted during this year and this week to learn how to make a pad. Also, tomorrow at Reusable, we are also doing another webinar for Catalan speakers in this case, but there will be also a gynecologist and also some teachers. So we will have representation from schools to learn how they are approaching this issue with the students. So anyone that speaks Catalan, because this is going to be the main language, it's invited to join us tomorrow.
Thank you. Yeah, great to have gynecologists and schools in the discussion as well. So I will not extend more because we're already on time. I just like to thank you, really, all you great speakers, to share your knowledge with us here and about the environment, the toxic, and the social justice issue. It's really a diverse topic, and that we need more and more discussions, and that's why we're here in the Environmenstrual Week. And I thank you all the participants as well, and join this week with us. We'll learn a lot, and you're also going to have lots of fun because it's really exciting. And yeah, for the next webinar will be on the November 17, will be on a topic that we should not name, COVID, how COVID affects zero waste. But it's, as we are living this situation, I think it's also important to understand how it affects zero waste life. And if you want to know more about the zero waste webinar series, you can also register for our newsletter. And yeah, thank you again for your participation, and I wish you a great bloody week. Bye, everyone.